Man, I'm starting to climb back up in predictions, and that's pretty improbable. Almost as improbable as a blocked field goal to end the game. Grossi, Posse, Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't do Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. Okay, Bears fans, just that one joke. There will be more. Grossi, and today we are going to be breaking down and predicting every single game in Week 12. That's right, folks. We're approaching the three-quarter mark of the NFL season. The last few games going to be played in November until we get to December football. And so far, things are not going too bad for me. Went 11-3 last week. These are the games I got right. These are the games I got wrong, bringing me to a 105-62 record on the season. However, I am no match for still the reigning, defending, undisputed #1 member in the Pick'em League, Best Better, still holding on to a 122-44 record. A huge round of applause for you, continuing to crush it. Let's see if anyone can take their throne. Starting off with an AFC North Thursday night football matchup, you got the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Cleveland Browns. The Steelers had a big-time win over the Baltimore Ravens, and once again, won by only kicking field goals.
If I had a nickel for every time I was doomed by a puppet, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right?
Russell Wilson didn't even have to have his best game to beat the Ravens. Their defense continually to look great on the Steelers, and the Steelers are starting to build a whole lot of momentum here, and I know they have to go through a gauntlet their final games of the season, but as I have been saying all year, they played their division really, really well. They're going to be going up against another division rival in the Cleveland Browns, who were unable to defeat the Saints last week. Taysom Hill running all over them, scoring 3 touchdowns. And what's so unfortunate, and I know they didn't have JOK, was that the offense of the Browns looked pretty damn good. Jameis Winston had a good game, but it was their defense that fell apart on them. And the Browns, listen, they are just a very disappointing team. I didn't think they'd be amazing with Deshaun Watson, but if that defense was good and Nick Chubb was able to look back to form, I thought that they could potentially be a playoff team. And unfortunately, those hopes are all washed out now. And looking at this game, again, it's an AFC North matchup, so things can get wonky. So I don't feel super duper confident, but I am confident enough to pick the Steelers to win the game here. Tomlin has been coaching his ass off like he usually does this season. And the Steelers, while not a perfect football team, they are going to be one of the toughest teams to beat come playoff time, which I think they will be there. And so right now, I'm going with Pittsburgh to get the win against Cleveland. And Browns fans, I'm just so sorry. Then an NFC North showdown, you got the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Chicago Bears. The purple incarnation of Satan getting a big win over the Tennessee Titans last week. Sam Darnold, even though it had an early turnover, looked pretty damn good in that game. Their offense is humming along, defense is playing well, and they're going to be going up against a tougher opponent in the Chicago Bears. And this game should be pretty damn good. The Bears, they were this close. They were a fingertip away from beating the Packers on Sunday, but then inevitability came.
They think that we'll just sit there and take it like good little boys, that we won't werewolf and go wild.
You finished?
And the Bears defense still is pretty damn good. They were ranked the #1 red zone defense, and I think they're going to play against the Vikings pretty damn well. Caleb Williams had one of his best games of the season, especially utilizing his legs and being able to move around. He also had some really clutch throws. And taking a look at Eberflus, I still don't think that he is the answer there in Chicago, but I think this could actually wind up being a pretty close game between the Vikings and the Bears. Again, you can't sleep on the Bears defense, and if Caleb Williams is going to be able to move around and do some things with his legs, and they can establish the run with Swift, who knows? The Bears might be able to pull off the upset here. Unfortunately, the Vikings are still looking pretty damn good, and while I'm not completely sold on them, I am going with the purple incarnation of Satan to get a win. And again, this is one of those games where I would not be surprised if there's an upset. We'll see if the firing of Shane Waldron looked pretty good on Sunday can continue to look good, and Caleb Williams can play another great game. But as of right now, I got to go with the Vikings. They're on a bit of a streak right now, though I would laugh a lot if the Bears won. Then you got the Detroit Lions taking on the Indianapolis Colts. The Lions just smacking the ever-living crap out of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Jaguars fans are going, why do we still have a head coach and GM? How come people haven't lost their jobs? Because after that performance, woof. I know they had Mac Jones, but the Lions just dominated on every single frickin' front. And even though they're going to have some injuries they're going to have to contend with, the Lions are playing the best football in the NFL right now. They're beating up on the bad teams, which is what they're supposed to do. And while they have had some close games in the past, I don't know if this is going to be one of them. Because the Colts, even though they got a big-time win over the Jets, I still don't see them beating the Lions here. It'll be interesting to see if Jonathan Taylor can run against this defense. And the good news is, Colts fans have had their faith restored in Anthony Richardson.
He's back. He's back!
And so if Anthony Richardson's able to put together another good game, who knows? Maybe this game is going to be a little bit close. But in good faith, I just can't pick against the Lions right now. I think they are the better football team, both on offense and defense, whether it's running the ball, whether it's Jared Goff playing well. Yeah, I think the Lions are going to get the win in Indianapolis, continuing their win streak. But don't worry, Detroit. Tough games are a-coming. Then an AFC East showdown between the New England Patriots and the Miami Dolphins. The Patriots, listen, I know you're just waiting for the season to be over, but Drake May has been saying this for a few weeks, has been a bright spot on that team. And once you get some weapons around him, maybe this rebuild is not going to take so long. But the Patriots unable to come up with a win last week. Matthew Stafford threw 4 touchdowns against that defense. That defense has been a little bit underwhelming this year. And again, it's just kind of an underwhelming season for the Patriots. But if they found their franchise guy, it will all have been worth it. They're going to be taking on the Dolphins, who have a bit of momentum as of late. But the real question is, how long can it last?
Winter is coming. Winter is coming.
December football is coming. But the Dolphins, I know nobody's talking about their game, able to knock off the Raiders, in which that offense has looked so much better since Tua has come back. When Tua was out, I said it's really difficult to even evaluate this team because Tua makes that much of a difference. The offense looks completely and totally different when he's behind center, and their defense has been playing pretty well too. So I think this game should belong to the Dolphins, being played in Miami. I don't think you're going to see any miracles from the Patriots. And right now, the Dolphins are just attempting to hold on to that hope that maybe they can sneak into a wild card spot. I don't think it's completely out of the realm of possibility, but they do have some tough games coming up. So right now, this is a must-win for the Dolphins to keep those slim playoff hopes alive. I think they'll be able to do it against a struggling Patriots team, getting the win, and we'll just see what happens come December. Then you got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the New Jersey Giants. The Buccaneers got to enjoy a bye week last week, and I think they enjoyed it pretty well. The Falcons, they got their ass kicked. The Panthers, they had a bye week as well, but they're not a threat. And the Saints, well, I think the Buccaneers can beat the Saints, so they are looking pretty good if they want to contend for that NFC South, which is just a weaker division. They're going to be taking on the New Jersey Giants, who... oh boy, let's talk about the Giants. They just benched Daniel Jones, and I know there are reports that some players are not very happy about it, but it's Tommy Cutlets time.
I don't have to have
What
that.
he's trying to say is gabagool.
Guys, all right.
I don't really think that we have that.
That's okay.
Bring in the gabagool.
The Giants have had a very underwhelming season, and I didn't think anyone anticipated them to be very good at all, especially losing Saquon Barkley, who is just playing phenomenally well with the Philadelphia Eagles. But they still have a good defensive line, and their offense with Tracy, I like Tracy and what he does. Of course, he had that fumble a couple weeks ago, but I think he's a pretty good player and has been a decent substitute for a run game. And Daniel Jones has just been struggling, and I don't think that Tommy DeVito is going to really save the Giants in any way, shape, or form. I think this is more of just an indicator that they're moving on from Daniel Jones. And here, even though the Buccaneers defense has been disappointing this season, I don't think Tommy DeVito is going to be able to will them to victory. I just don't think they have enough pieces, and I love Baker Mayfield and the kind of football he's playing right now. So I'm going to go with Tampa to get the W here. Again, I still think they're going to be contending for that division, and it's very possible they wind up winning the South. But right now, they got to go through the Giants, which I think they'll have no problem doing. Following that, another divisional matchup between the Dallas Cowboys and the Washington Commanders. Cowboys, literally everything is falling apart. It's your stadium, it's your offense, it's your defense. Everything is looking horrible. It's nice to have Micah Parsons back in the lineup, and Cooper Rush is an able quarterback. But yeah, things are not looking good. I don't think Mike McCarthy's going to return after this season, and it just seems like it's a mess. Dak Prescott's out for the year. They don't have a run game. And yeah, there are very few things to be happy about if you're a Cowboys fan. Meanwhile, the Washington Commanders, there's lots to be happy about. Though they have lost their past couple of games, and Jane Daniels still hasn't looked the same after his rib injury, I think with that little bit of extra break since the last time they played was on Thursday Night Football, will do well for this team. Maybe people get a little bit more healthy, and we'll see Jane Daniels return to his early season form. And for the Commanders, this might be a get-right game for them, and I am sure that they are looking forward to it.
I'm going to enjoy this far more than I should.
And the Commanders team is just better than the Cowboys right now. If they had Dak, maybe it's a little bit of a closer game. But here, I think the Commanders should be able to take care of business. The one concern I do have is the pass rush getting after Jane Daniels with Micah Parsons. So they could cause some problems. And who knows, this might be a low-scoring game. But at the end of the day, I'm going with the Commanders to get the win here. And Cowboys fans, the season's almost over at least. Then, oh boy, you got the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Carolina Panthers. The Chiefs losing their very first game of the season to the Buffalo Bills, and this team has not looked 100% because they haven't been 100% for the majority of the season. Whether it's not having Rashee Rice, Isaiah Pacheco, and Patrick Mahomes just not playing like we're used to. And still, they were able to go 9-0. That defense still playing really well. Kareem Hunt has just been grinding down clock and picking up TDs. And the Chiefs are obviously still a very good football team. They're going to be taking on the Carolina Panthers, who were laughing at the Chiefs with the rest of the league last week, but then remembered that they got to play them this week. And while it would have been absolute hilarity if the Bills lost and the Panthers were able to get a win here, defeating the undefeated season of the Chiefs, I don't think that's going to happen here. And the Panthers got to enjoy their bye last week, and they have been playing better. They're on a 2-game win streak, which honestly, that's pretty damn good. They are going up against a very angry Kansas City Chiefs team, and I think the Chiefs are just a far and away better team than the Panthers are right now. I think this might be a tough game for Bryce Young. I got the Chiefs winning against one of the worst defenses in football right now. Mahomes might have a get-right game, and yeah, I'm so sorry, Panthers, for what's about to happen. Chiefs win. Following that, you got an AFC South showdown between the Tennessee Titans and the Houston Texans. The Titans, they put up a decent fight against the Minnesota Vikings. However, the refs also hated them as well because every single thing that the Titans did, it was flagged. They had 13 accepted penalties against that team. And listen, it does not help considering their team is not good. The refs are against them. The Vikings are trying to kick their ass. And unfortunately for Titans fans, it's about that time again.
Oh, shit. Here we go again.
They're going to be taking on the Houston Texans, who had a big win on Monday night against the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm going to be very honest. Nico Collins being back in that lineup definitely helps. He had that long touchdown negated on the first play of the game. But the Texans, they allowed the Cowboys to hang around that game for a bit. So much so, it was a bit concerning until the later part of that game. And I still think the Texans are a good football team. I just don't know if they are a great football team yet. I still think that they are favorites to win the AFC South, though the Colts, we'll see how they play against the Lions and how they finish out the rest of their season and if Anthony Richardson is able to take those next steps. But right now, Joe Mixon is playing fantastically well, had 3 touchdowns against the Cowboys. And even though the Titans defense can be somewhat of a bright spot because everything else is just so bad, I don't think the Texans will have a problem knocking them off. Again, it is a divisional matchup, so maybe it'll be a closer game, but I got Houston getting the win here, an important divisional game in order to hold on to that lead. Houston gets the win. Titans, April's coming soon. Then you got another divisional matchup between the Denver Broncos and the Vegas Raiders. The Broncos kicking ass and taking names last week. Bo Nix having a phenomenal game. And everybody thought Bo Nix was a bad draft pick, except for Broncos fans.
Everyone is stupid except me.
There might have been some Broncos fans that doubted, but they are Bo-leavers now. And Bo Nix has been putting together a nice body of work. Not only was he able to destroy the Falcons, but given enough time, Bo Nix can do some damage. I know fantasy owners are super happy with him because he has been a very underrated pick. But as a whole, Bo Nix is playing much better than a lot of people anticipated. Their defense continues to play well, and they're going up against the Vegas Raiders, who are just desperate for any kind of victory here. The good news is that their offense looked a little bit above mediocre mediocre last week. Unfortunately, their defense has been one of the most disappointing aspects of this season. I thought they were going to be a top 5 defense. That has been proven to be very incorrect. Who knows if Antonio Pierce is going to have a job after this season, and they desperately need a quarterback. And even though this is a divisional game, I don't think the Raiders are going to knock off the Broncos. The Broncos were able to knock off the Raiders earlier this season, and I think they'll be able to do the same thing here. So I got Denver continuing their win streak, getting the win over the Raiders. And who knows, we might be seeing Denver in the playoffs after all. Then you got one of the games of the week in the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Green Bay mother-loving Packers. And oh boy, it's 49ers week. We're not playing any games. The 49ers losing a heartbreaker against the Seattle Seahawks. Their first loss against the Seahawks since Russell Wilson was their QB. And the 49ers, yeah, things are not going very well. Deebo Samuel's not looking effective. CMC is still trying to get involved in the game. The defense doesn't look as good. And a lot of people are talking about maybe the 49ers missed their window after losing the Super Bowl last year against the Chiefs. And honestly, the 49ers just do not look like themselves. They're going to be taking on the Green Bay mother-loving Packers, who were able to sneak out of Chicago with a win. And oh boy, that was a close game. And Jordan Love, I know a lot of people are going to be talking about that interception, and a lot of people are going to be like, oh, Tom, you're just a homer. I don't care. Jordan Love made better decisions on Sunday against the Bears. His interceptions have been a problem this year. He's thrown double-digit interceptions, but I keep on saying as long as he's doing more good than bad. He threw a bad interception and a ball that just sailed on him, but he was throwing the ball away, and of course he was able to lead the Packers to that game-winning drive, and ultimately they did wind up winning that game. So right now, the good is outweighing the bad. But I will say, and specifically with the 49ers, going back to that interception last year, Jordan Love needs to learn from his mistakes.
Ow! Jeez, what was that for?
It doesn't matter. It's in the past.
Yeah, but it still hurts.
Oh, yes, the past can hurt. But the way I see it, you can either run from it or learn from it. Ah! You see?
And this could be an interesting game because while the 49ers don't look like the team they were last year, they were a phenomenal team last year. And so I still think they are pretty damn good. And if CMC is able to run all over the Packers, just like the Bears were able to run all over them, the 49ers have a good chance of winning this game. Being played at Lambeau, I think Lambeau is going to be very, very loud for this big-time rival. And if the Packers are able to establish the run with Josh Jacobs, which they have done a great job so far this season of doing, I think the Packers should be able to get the win. It's going to be coming down to Jordan Love and if he can limit those mistakes. If he's able to do that, I think the Packers will get a W against the 49ers. We usually are able to beat them in the regular season. It's the postseason which is a problem. And who knows, with a Packers win, that might sink the 49ers ship. I pray it is because then we don't have to worry about them in the postseason. But I'm going with the Packers to get a big-time win. And with injuries to Brock Purdy and Nick Bosa right now, I know that they're shaking up. We'll see if they play on Sunday. I think the Packers could take advantage of that, getting a big-time win in the NFC and hopefully exercising some demons. Then, a really close game coming up. You got the Arizona Cardinals taking on the Seattle Seahawks. The Cardinals, they're just winning, baby. They were on a bye week. They got to relax and just watch their division continue to be the middest of mid. They are currently leading the NFC West. Kyler Murray's been playing really, really well. Marvin Harrison Jr. is great. They're running the ball well with James Conner. Trey McBride is playing well. There's a lot to like about this Cardinals team. And I don't think that they're an elite team or anything, but they are doing enough and they might wind up winning that division. They're going to be taking on the Seattle Seahawks with Geno Smith called game and ran it in for a touchdown, defeating the San Francisco 49ers. And right now, the Seahawks, they're trying to steal that division from the Arizona Cardinals.
What if I see something that I want to take and it belongs to someone else?
Well, you will be arrested.
But what if I want it more than the person who has it?
Still illegal.
And the Seahawks, of course, have all the offensive line woes. And going up against the Cardinals pass rush, which could be better, just saying, they might be able to win this game. Being played in Seattle, I actually like the Seahawks here. However, the problem I have with Seattle is just they're way too inconsistent. Whether it's their lack of run game, whether it is their poor offensive line, and their defense, well, you know, that could go either way. And Geno Smith has been playing damn good football considering the offensive line he's behind. However, he does throw a fair amount of interceptions. And if the Cardinals secondary is able to take advantage of that, the Cardinals should be able to get the win. I've been going back and forth with this game all morning, and I'm going to decide to go with the Arizona Cardinals to get the win here. Again, I would not be surprised either way. As of right now on ESPN in the Pick'em League, 50% of people pick the Cardinals and 50% of people pick the Seahawks, and that's kind of where I am. I think the home field advantage could give Seattle a major opportunity to get this win, but the Cardinals have been playing damn good football, coming off a bye, feeling a little bit healthier. I'm going to go with Arizona and Kyler Murray to get that W, especially if they're able to control the clock and run the ball. And Cardinals, I'm believing. Don't let me down. Then on Sunday Night Football, you got the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the LA Rams. The Eagles had that big-time win against the Washington Commanders on Thursday night. That game was pretty damn close until Saquon just said, never mind, I'm going to go win this game now. And the only thing that's frustrating about the Eagles right now is that Jalen Hurts keeps on stealing touchdowns from Saquon Barkley.
You're a crook. You're a cheat and a swindler. That's what you are. How can you do a thing like this?
Well, I'm not a crook. I've earned everything I've got.
But in reality, that defense has been playing really, really well. I talked about it on Power Rankings. Those additions to the secondary and Mitchell and DeJean have been phenomenal. The offense is playing well. They're running the ball. And while I don't think the Eagles are a perfect football team, they are a very good team. And especially on the defensive side of the ball, they can afford some mistakes on the offense. They're going to be taking on the LA Rams, who had a win against the Patriots last week. I mentioned before, Matthew Stafford throwing 4 touchdowns. And the Rams are a little bit streaky. They lost that game against the Dolphins, and their offense is kind of up and down. Looking at the defense, Jared Verse has been really great this season. He's having a wonderful rookie year. They seem to have hit a home run on their draft pick there. And the Rams, I think, can be a playoff team. The problem is they're going to have to beat playoff caliber organizations in the Philadelphia Eagles. And that's why I don't want to say this is a must-win game, but this would go a long way in terms of my confidence in the Rams and also in their standings beating a fellow NFC team. However, the Eagles are on a hot streak right now, and with the way their defense is playing, I don't know if Matthew Stafford's going to have that same success like he did against the Patriots. So I am going to go with the Eagles to get the W here. Jalen Hurts, we know, can be a mobile QB, and with Saquon, I just think there's going to be too many weapons for the Rams defense to try and cover. And I'm going to go with the Eagles to get the W unless Stafford can pull a whole lot of magic out of somewhere. Then on Monday Night Football, you got the Harbaugh Bowl. You got the Baltimore Ravens taking on the LA Chargers.
A battle between two brothers, but only one can survive.
Brother, help me!
Long live the king.
I wonder who their parents are rooting for. The Ravens losing to the Steelers last week by fracking field goals. And that defense is just so disappointing. Lamar Jackson did not have his best game. That offense as a whole did not have their best game. And the problems with the Ravens, I think they're apparent. And I want to be very clear. I still think they're a very good football team that can go toe-to-toe with some of the best teams in the league. I just think they're very beatable. Taking on the Chargers, which, talking about beatable, man. You scared the crap out of me, Chargers. I had the faith and picked you against the Bengals last week. And yes, I was rewarded because you got the win, but you made it so damn difficult. Whether it was getting away from the game plan in the second half, that defense allowing Joe Burrow to claw their way back into the game, and the Chargers could have lost that game very easily. If McPherson doesn't miss those field goals, we might be talking about the Chargers in a very different light this week. And the Chargers are another team that I think they are damn solid. Their defense is playing well, they run the ball successfully, and Justin Herbert is having himself a really nice season. And for this game, I think it's going to be a great one. I think it's going to be a highly contested matchup. You have a good Chargers defense going up against a good Ravens offense, and the Ravens defense, well, I don't know how successful they're going to be against the Chargers. And honestly, what it's going to come down to is which one of these teams is going to blow it in the fourth quarter. And that is a tough pick. However, I am going to go with the Baltimore Ravens to have a bounce back victory here. I know it's being played in SoFi, though I don't think that's going to make too much of a difference. I think the Ravens offense is just a little bit better than that Chargers defense. And especially after what I saw last week, I just don't trust the Chargers completely. And it's not that I trust the Baltimore Ravens that much more, but I think if Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry get going, it's going to be tough for the Chargers to stop them. So I'm going to go with the Ravens to get the win here, winning the Harbaugh Bowl, and who knows? These teams might play again in the postseason. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. How do you feel this week of games are going to shake out? Let me know. You guys find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or Tom Grossi Comedy, all social media, see down below. A big shout and thank you to all the Patreon and YouTube members for supporting this channel. And thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.